A black girl delivering a powerful high kick to a boy. Next to them, a girl in a light blue dress sits in a wheelchair watching the action. But why the fight begun?
A girl's wheelchair crashes to the floor, books scatter, wheels spin, and cruel laughter echoes down the hallway as a lone black girl watches in silent fury from the shadows. The hallway echoed with laughter, not the kind that brings joy, but the kind that cuts through silence like a knife. A girl in a wheelchair lay tipped over, her books scattered, her hands trembling as her chair spun on its side. Students passed by, eyes down, hearts frozen, pretending not to see. And standing at the end of the hallway was another girl, motionless, watching. Her face unreadable, her fists clenched. No one knew her name. No one cared. But in 30 minutes, they'd all remember her, because she wasn't about to let this pass quietly. The morning had started like any other at Willowbrook High, a place that looked perfect from the outside. Red brick walls, green lawns, banners about kindness and inclusion fluttering in the wind. But inside, kindness was more slogan than truth. Maya, the new girl, had transferred only 2 weeks ago. 17, quiet, black. Her mother worked double shifts at the hospital, hoping this new town meant a better future. But better futures come slow when prejudice runs deep. The girl in the wheelchair, Emma, was one of the few who smiled at Maya on her first day. Fragile from birth, but stronger than she looked. They'd sit together in the cafeteria, sharing quiet laughs while the rest of the room whispered. The whispers weren't kind. About Emma's disability, about Maya's skin, about how the two of them didn't fit with the others. Maya noticed how teachers looked away when cruel jokes were made, how laughter filled the halls after a slur was whispered, and how silence followed her footsteps like a shadow. That day she'd been late to class, crossing the second-floor hallway when she saw it. 3 seniors cornering Emma by the lockers. The tallest one sneered, gripping the handle of her wheelchair. Then came the shove, the crash, the laughter. Something inside Maya broke in that moment, not from anger, but from recognition. She'd seen this kind of cruelty before, and this time she wasn't going to walk away. Maya rushed forward, her shoes slipping slightly on the polished floor. But by the time she reached Emma, the bullies were already halfway down the hall, laughing as if they had just told a joke. Her lip was bleeding. Her hands shook as she tried to reach for her chair. Maya helped her up, straightening the wheels, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. The crowd had already dispersed, some pretending to scroll through their phones, others pretending not to care. The janitor swept by, eyes low, unwilling to get involved. That silence, that horrible, cowardly silence, hit Maya harder than anything. 30 minutes passed in a blur of anger. Emma was taken to the nurse. The principal promised to look into it. The bullies went to lunch, loud and unbothered. Maya sat alone at a table staring at her untouched food. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from restraint. She thought about her mother's words, "Don't let them break you, baby. Rise higher." But rising higher didn't mean staying silent, not anymore. When the bell rang, she stood, walked to the principal's office, and asked for permission to speak at the next assembly. He dismissed her with a smile, told her it wasn't the time, so she made her own time. By the next period, she was standing in the middle of the cafeteria, the same place where laughter had echoed for weeks at the expense of kids like her and Emma. Every eye turned as she climbed onto one of the benches, her voice steady. She didn't shout, she didn't cry. She simply told the truth. About the wheelchair, about the shove, about the silence. And though she never used names, everyone knew exactly who she meant. At first, no one moved, but then one voice, soft, trembling, said, "I saw it too." Then another. Within minutes, the cafeteria was filled with murmurs, guilt, fear, realization. The bullies sat frozen, pale and speechless. Maya looked at them only once, not with hatred, but with calm defiance, because she knew what they didn't. The moment you speak truth out loud, cruelty loses its power.
The principal arrived within minutes, face red with panic, teachers rushing to quiet the crowd. But it was too late. The truth was already out. Phones were recording, students were posting, the story spread faster than anyone could stop it. By afternoon, the district office was calling. Parents were furious, reporters stood outside the gates. The bullies tried to apologize, but their words were drowned out by the sound of consequences, suspension notices, parents arriving in shame, whispers turning into headlines. And through it all, Maya didn't gloat. She sat beside Emma, who had returned from the nurse's office, still pale but smiling faintly. For the first time, the two of them weren't invisible. The school that prided itself on kindness was finally forced to see what it had ignored for years. And the same hallways that once echoed with cruel laughter now carried a different sound, quiet respect. Not for fear, but for courage. Because sometimes it only takes one person refusing to look away to make everyone else finally open their eyes. Weeks passed, Emma's bruises healed. Maya's name spread through the school like a story people wanted to believe in. The girl who spoke up when no one else would. Teachers began to actually enforce the rules they had ignored. Students formed an inclusion committee, and posters about kindness no longer felt like decorations, they felt like promises. Maya didn't want fame. She wanted change, but change, she realized, isn't loud or instant. It's quiet. It's in the way students helped Emma carry her books now, in the way silence no longer followed Maya's footsteps, but respect did. The bullies avoided her, not because they feared her, but because they now feared what she represented: accountability. Maya never told her mother everything that happened, just that things were better now. That night, as she looked out her bedroom window, the streetlights glowed against the rain-soaked pavement. She thought about all the people who stay silent when cruelty happens, and she whispered to herself, not as a promise, but as a truth. Silence protects the bully. Courage protects the broken. Somewhere in that same town, another kid would face the same cruelty someday. Maybe in a classroom, maybe in a hallway. But because of Maya, maybe they'd find the strength to fight back too. And maybe, just maybe, someone else would finally stand beside them. Because courage isn't contagious, it's awakening. And once it begins, it doesn't stop.